Hello all, welcome to yet another lecture on energy audit and management. We are into module 3 and we will today discuss about water pumps. The course outcomes, we are discussing about course outcome number 3 to describe the energy performance evaluation of some common electrical installations and identify the energy saving opportunities. In the last lecture, we discussed about the lighting system and lighting control, in which we discussed about occupancy sensor, daylight integration, and use of intelligent controllers. Today, we are going to start with the energy conservation opportunities in water pumps, and subsequently in the next lecture we will discuss about industrial drives, induction motors, motor retrofitting, soft starters. Now all these topics are interrelated. When we discuss about water pump, basically when we talk about pumps come in variety of sizes for a wide range of applications. And you see the industrial applications find centrifugal pumps in operation. So in our uh, in energy audit and management course, we will focus on centrifugal pumps rather than reciprocating pumps. Okay, so you see that 40% of the industrial applications involve pumps either in process or auxiliary running or movement of the water for cooling purpose in power plants. All industrial applications use water pumps. So basically, when we talk about water pump, it involves a housing and it is connected to a motor. So energy conservation opportunities in water pumps will talk about operations of pump, and also it is interconnected with motor. So motor efficiency will also play an important part in the pump design. So overall efficiency, we will talk about combining efficiency of motor as well as efficiency of pump. Basically, what we have is a motor is 90% efficient, whereas water pumps are 60% efficient. Okay, so we will discuss. So a centrifugal pump operations you already know, but just through introduction, I would like to tell you that there is a suction and there is a impeller eye which moves, and this is a volute casing. So because of that volute casing, the pressure is created and the water is sucked from this side. This becomes the inlet, and the volute is designed in such a way that it pressurizes the water and then it will be discharged from this radially outward direction. And this impeller is being moved by a prime mover which is called as a motor. So basically this is a very simple operation, or we can say housing is very important, and the hydraulic power or pump shaft power and electric input power is given by ph, which is equal to q, that is the discharge, in meter cube per second, into the total head, that is hd minus hs. Hd is the discharge head and hs is the suction head, which is measured in meter, into rho, that is the density of the fluid. It can be water, so 1000 we take, and g is the acceleration due to gravity in meter per second square. So and divided by 1000 to get it in kilowatt. So pump shaft power is nothing but this hydraulic power ph divided by pump efficiency. So electrical power is utilized for driving the motor. So that is why the shaft power divided by efficiency of motor becomes the electrical input power. So this calculation is very important. You can take a note of it. Now, whenever we talk about the pump operation, we typically experience this kind of graph in which all these parameters are plotted with respect to the flow rate. So flow rate is very important. So on the basis of flow rate, we design or we classify the pumps into various shapes and sizes. So here, which is called as a system characteristics. So for system characteristic, the very important feature is nothing but the head. Okay, so the head is what we can say can be classified into a static head and dynamic head or friction head. So what is static head? So for example, if the pump is located at 1 meter distance from ground or from water level, then that becomes a static head. Okay, so if you want to pump from lower tank to higher tank, take an example of a residential building in which the water is to be pumped from ground floor to third floor, and these three floors the distance of these three floors is 30 meter. So 30 meter becomes the static head. Okay, and the dynamic head will be, or the friction head will be, due to the pipe diameter, pipe material, and because of the flow rate. Okay, so friction head is also called as a dynamic head loss, which is a friction loss on the liquid being moved in pipes, valves, equipments in the system. Okay, so if the pipe consists of number of bends, then friction head will be more. Pipe fittings, if improper fittings are there, then friction head or friction loss will be more. Okay, so in case of fittings, friction is stated as an equivalent length of pipe of the same size. Okay, so friction loss are proportional to square of the flow rate. So if I want to find the relation between the friction head and flow rate, it is proportional to square of the flow rate. So it is not a straight line, but it is a what we can say, a parabola will be there, upward rising parabola. And what is the relation between the head and the flow rate? If flow rate increases, head decreases. Okay, so that is the relation between the head and flow rate. So you see that for different capacity of pump, this will be called as a operating curve. Operating curve. Okay, so or the pump characteristic curve. So characteristic curve and the system curve, when they meet at one point, that will be called as a best efficiency point or the operating point. So the relation between power and flow rate is, the if the flow rate increases, you see flow rate increases, power will also increase. Okay, efficiency, at some flow rate we will have the highest efficiency, and if we increase the flow rate, because the head is coming down, friction will increase, so efficiency will come down. So all these parameters are proportional to each other, and NPSH we will discuss at the later part of the lecture, which is called as a net positive suction head. Okay, so what are the factors that affect the pump performance? So matching the pump and the system head flow characteristics is very important, because when we talk about any um, uh, pump characteristic, or we can say the performance curve, if we get this kind of graph from the manufacturer. So this is one of the manufacturer, Gold's pump is there, from where we have taken this, and you see these are the number of pumps, we can say this is the head flow curve, the head curve. So head curve and the system curve. So system curve and head curve, when it meets, it is called as the operating point or the best efficiency point. And all these points, see these, all these points are the best efficiency points. And on this we will find out or we will try to operate our pump. So we can get the optimum performance from the pump. Okay, I'll show you one example in which only 10% decrease in the pump efficiency can cause a huge amount of saving, that we will come across in the later part of the lecture. So this curve is very important, in which we have the head curve and the system curve, which matches at this point, which is called as a best efficiency point. There is a lot of literature available on pumps. We can go through it. You can go through it. If you are finding it difficult to understand, you can then ask me. But here, what I would like to say is centrifugal pumps are characterized by relationship between the flow rate they produce and the pressure at which this flow is derived. Okay, so the pump efficiency varies with flow rate and pressure, and it is highest at one particular flow rate. This is what is shown here. At one particular flow rate, this is maximum. Okay, right, right. So you see now what will happen if you have an oversized pump. This example, this is the basic of the pump operation. So you take an example of your own society, in which you have procured one pump which is capable of pumping water from your ground tank to your terrace, or the tank situated at the terrace. And let us assume that the total head is a 50 meter, that means it is a 5-story building, 10 meter each for that floor. Okay, and it is operating at so 50 meter head, and you require a flow rate of 500 meter cube per hour. This is, so you see what will happen. Pressure loss to be overcome by the pump are the functions of flow. The system characteristics are also quantified in the form of head flow curve. So these are the head flow curves. You can see the blue color line, the black color line are the head flow curve. Okay, so pressure loss will take place in the system characteristics, which is quantified by head flow curve. And what is this? These are the system curves, which depends upon the static and the friction head. Okay, the system curve is basically a plot of system resistance. The resistance will be caused by what? By the head. So head to be overcome by the pump versus various flow rates. So this green color is one particular characteristic system curve, and red color is another system curve. And we are having, so you see the system curve change with the physical configuration of the system. For example, the system curve depends upon the height or elevation, diameter and length of the pipe. So you see that static head remains the same. Static head is nothing but difference of the water tank at the base and water tank available at fifth floor. So this is the static head. But to provide water to that tank, we need to operate at higher head. Why? So this difference of 50 meter and this point will be the HD. That is the friction head. Friction head will depend upon what all parameters. It will depend upon the elevation, diameter and length of the pipe, number and types of fittings, and pressure drop across various equipment, which is a heat exchanger. Okay, so heat transfer may also cause drop in pressure on and rise in head. This is clear. Okay, so you see, once again I will repeat, the system curve change with the physical configuration of the system. The system curve depends upon height or elevation, diameter and length of the pipe, number and types of fitting. So if there is U bend, it will cause more head. Okay, and the pressure drop across various equipments. So a pump is selected based on how well the pump curve and system head flow curve match. So system curve and head curve match, and that is how the pump is selected. So this is, say for example, 1 HP pump, this is half HP pump, and so on. So black color pump is some capacity of pump, and blue color pump is another capacity of the pump. Right, the pump operating point is identified as the point where the system curve and head curve coincide, superimposed on each other. Okay, so let us consider one system under consideration. Water has to be first lifted to a height. This represents the static head. Okay, then we make a system curve. This green color curve, considering the friction and pressure drop in the system as shown in this green color line. Okay, suppose we have estimated that our operating conditions are 500 meter cube per hour. Okay, this is the operating condition we have decided. So if I draw one vertical line from this, it will meet at this point where the system curve and the head curve, okay, is coinciding. The pump curve is coinciding, and that we call it as point A. And suppose we have estimated that this head is 50 meter head. So we will choose a pump curve which intersects the system curve at A, and this is the pump's best efficiency point, which is also called as a BEP, best efficiency point. Okay, but in actual operation we find that 300 meter cube per hour is also sufficient. Okay, so the reduction in flow rate has to be affected by a throttle valve. So we find that we do not require 500 meter cube per hour, but we require 300 meter cube per hour. Then what we will do? We will put a throttle valve. In other words, what we are doing? We are introducing an artificial resistance in the system. Due to this artificial resistance, the frictional part of the system curve increases, and thus the new system curve will be shifted to the left of this, which is shown by red curve. So you see the static head is not getting affected, but the system curve now shifts towards the right side, left side of this. Okay, so the pump has to overcome this additional pressure in order to deliver the reduced flow. Pump has to adjust. Okay, so what will happen? It will be the new curve or new intersection of the pump curve and system curve will take place, which is at point B. And this point is a lower efficiency point, which is 77%. Okay, so you must have seen that the efficiency point has shifted from 82% to 77%. So what we have is actually operating point at point C, which is which can supply 300 meter cube per hour. Okay, so this point requires only 42 meter head, and this is possible if we have a lower capacity of the pump. So we know that a new pump which will operate with the best efficiency point at C, but there are simple options. Rather than replacing the pump, the speed of the pump can be reduced, impeller can be trimmed, or size can be reduced. Size of the impeller can be reduced. Okay, so all these things we are going to discuss in the coming this thing. Okay, so you see that the operating point will be at C by selecting a new pump, which is shown by the blue color line. Okay, so this blue color line operates at 82% efficiency, and you see that now it does not require a replacement of the pump, but it requires some other methods are also available, which we are going to discuss, which is the speed of the pump can be reduced, the diameter can be changed, or impeller can be trimmed. Okay, so this is what we are going to discuss. So you see, I was talking about this effect of efficiency on the pump. So you see that let us have we what we can say consider a case where we need to pump 68 meter cube per hour of water at 47 meter head. The pump characteristic curve can be anywhere up, from A to E. If we have at A, it is operating at 50% efficiency. If we have at E, it is operating at 60% efficiency, because it is the best efficiency point. It is this curve is going like this. So you have a static and the dynamic head as going in this way, which is having at the best efficiency point. Okay, so you see that for a range of pump given in figure, this is one pump, this is another pump, this is third pump, fourth pump, fifth pump. You have various pumps available at A to E. Which pump you will select? So if we select pump E, then the pump efficiency is 60%. And how do we calculate hydraulic power? So hydraulic power is equal to Q in meter cube per second into the total head, that is HD minus HS in meters, rho, that is the density of water, and G is acceleration due to gravity. So you see it is hydraulic power will be 8.7 kilowatt. What will be shaft power? Shaft power, if you recall, shaft power is nothing but hydraulic power divided by pump efficiency. So 8.7 kilowatt divided by 0.6 will give you 14.5 kilowatt. This is the shaft power. And how to calculate motor power? Motor power is equal to the shaft power divided by motor efficiency. So here we are considering motor efficiency of 90%. So you have 16.1 kilowatt consumption by the motor E, which is operating at best efficiency point of 60%. How you get this best efficiency point? Superimposing the system curve and pump curve with each other. So we get the best efficiency point. Now if we select pump A, then that pump has an efficiency of 50%, drop from earlier of 60%. So 10% lower efficiency we have this pump available with us. So obviously this is an oversized pump. Why oversized pump? Because at the best efficiency point, if I want to supply 68 cubic meter per hour, it is requiring 47 meters of head. But the same 68 cubic meter per hour, with if I operate at by using pump A, which is operating at 50% efficiency, it requires 76 meters of head. It is going to give you the same discharge, 68 cubic meter per hour, but it will require higher head. Now you pause this video and think about this, that why you feel, why there is an increase in the head if we select pump A. Okay, so obviously you find that the pump has to be throttled to achieve the desired flow. Why? Because its best efficiency point is here, which will give me a higher flow rate, but we require lower flow rate, and we should have throttled this flow. And when we throttle this flow, my head increases. Why increases? Because throttling will cause friction, and friction will cause the head to increase. I hope when you pause this video you also thought the same way. Okay, once again I would like to repeat, if you select pump A, its best efficiency point is this. Okay, at this 60% efficiency, the pump should discharge higher flow rate than 68 cubic meter per hour, but our requirement is 68 cubic meter per hour, so we will throttle it. So if we throttle, what will happen? If we throttle, our point will come here, and because of that throttling there is a friction, and friction will cause the dynamic head to increase. So that is why we have an increase of 76 meter from 47 meter. Okay, so throttling increases the head to overcome by the pump. In this case, head is 76 meter, and so my hydraulic power will be calculated as Q into total head into rho into G divided by 1000. We get 14 kilowatt. So you see here it is 87 kilowatt consumed by this pump, or we can say hydraulic power delivered by this pump, which is increased to 14 kilowatt. So how to calculate shaft power? Shaft power is equal to 14 divided by pump efficiency, which is 50% in this case, which is equal to 28 kilowatt. And motor power will be equal to 28 by motor efficiency, which is 90%, which is equal to 31 kilowatt. So you see 16 kilowatt and 31 kilowatt is the power consumed by the motor. So you see additional power drawn by A over E is 31 minus 16.1, which is equal to 14.9 kilowatt extra. So extra energy used will be equal to 8760 hours per year. This is calculated as 360 into the 24 hours. Okay, so 8760 hours, which is annual. So into this kilowatt. So kilowatt hour per annum. Okay, so hours per year multiplied by kilowatt, so it becomes kilowatt hour per year, which is equal to rupees 5 lakh 22,096, which is equal to, so this multiplied by, so you see that if, it is being divided multiplied with the rate of this. Okay, considering the rate of electricity, it is being calculated. Okay, so you see that is a 5 lakh is the cost of the pump nowadays. So in this example, the extra cost of electricity is more than what is at the cost of pump we can buy. Okay, so you see that if I divide 5 lakh 22,096 by 1 lakh 30,524 is the 4 rupees rate we have taken. So 4 rupees per kilowatt hour is the rate at which the electricity is being supplied, and we can have an annual. So 4 rupees is very nominal actually. We have in industry around 10 rupees per kilowatt hour. So you see that the cost of saving by just increasing or having an energy efficient pump of just 10% increase can cost you 5 lakh rupees per annum. Okay, so this is how we go ahead. So we have an efficient pumping system operation. So you see what are the symptoms that indicate that potential opportunity for energy saving. So if you visit an industry and you come across that there is a, problem with my pump, because the industry, what happens, I will tell you. In industry, when you go, the industry people are working for several years, and they have this motor or pumps installed in their place for several years. You take an example of your residential unit, residential building. You have one pump station, pump house. In that there is a pump. Now you ask your secretary, building secretary, that when we have purchased this pump. Okay, so definitely if the building is a 30 years old building, definitely the pump will be around 20-25 years old, and the same pump you are operating. So every utility has some, what we can say, degradation happening during the years. Okay, so what will happen with the pump if it is not maintained? Definitely it will have lesser efficiency, because that the flow rate, even though the flow rate is okay, due to the head, which is the power will increase, efficiency will decrease, and will consume more power. Because you see the efficiency, if you see the motor curve, the power curve, you see that the power is increased if the flow rate is increased. So how flow rate will increase? Flow rate depends upon the head, and because the wear and tear is not happening, the pipes are same. If the corrosion will take place, scaling will take place inside the pipe, friction head will increase. If the head will increase, flow rate has to increase by square of the head, and then power will increase by 3 times cube of that. Okay, so this is how you have to. So definitely throttle control, if you see in any place, if they are using throttle valve to control the flow rate, definitely the likely reason will be it is an oversized pump, and that is why they are throttling the flow. Actually the pump should operate at full flow without throttling. Okay, but if you are using throttle valve to control the flow, that means the likely reason will be an oversized pump. What is the best possible solution for that? Trimming of impeller. Now trimming of impeller is proposed only when the flow rate is constant. That means every time you require a reduced flow rate. If that is not the case, then trimming of impeller should not be followed, because trimming of impeller will, what it will reduce to? Trimming of impeller means what? You have to reduce the flow rate by trimming the impellers. It is a permanent solution. Okay. Other case is smaller impeller. You can have a smaller impeller, no problem. So in that case, don't have to trim the impeller. You just replace the impeller for that particular flow rate. Say for example, you are operating, your industry is there for having a batch process, a chemical industry in which a particular chemical is to be made to flow at this particular flow rate. But if you get some other order of some other chemical, you require a increased flow rate. So at that time, the trimming impeller will not be the solution. At that point, you require a smaller impeller. Then that means if the fluid is changed, you can change the impeller. Best option is what? To have a variable speed drive. You will come across variable speed drive. So variable speed drive is nothing but it depends upon the frequency. Okay, we will come across later on in this lecture. So two-speed drive, lower RPM, this is all the solutions for this symptom. If you come across a symptom which is a bypass line, partially or completely open, that means one pipe is there. On that pipe we have a branch, another pipe, which is a bypass line, which can be partial or it can be completely open. Yes or no? So this is also one of the reason, or likely reason will be an oversized pump is there. Head will increase, power will increase. In that case, you should go for the same solution, that is trimming of impeller or smaller impeller or variable speed drive or two speed drive and lower RPM. Okay. If you have a multiple parallel pump system with the same number of pumps always operating, This example I would like to give you at ice factory. You have condensers, row of condensers. All condensers are to be maintained at same temperature. Everyone will agree with this. Now, how to maintain the same temperature throughout? If you have one pump supplying water to all the condenser rows, so one row is nearer to pump, second row is some farther away from the pump, and the last row is most away from the pump. So the pump has to work all the way to the end. So the static head will increase. Instead of that, what we can do is we can have parallel pump operations with the same number of pumps always operating, specially designed for the higher head or higher static head or lower static head. Such kind of pumps are available: low static head pump, high static head pump. So these multiple parallel operations can be there. But if these are the same type of pumps are selected, pumps are not monitored or controlled, that can be the reason that pumps are all pumps are of same size. This should not happen. So what you can do, you can install controls on them. That means which pump is to be on, which pumps is to be not on. That means the condenser row, which row is operating. So you have three particular setup: one setup for ice manufacturing, one setup for cabin cooling, another setup for the storage of that, that is the cold room. So three setups are not on at once. So three condensers will not be on. So one row of condenser is on, so that particular pump should be on. Not all three pumps are to be on. So you have to look for that, what they are, how they are operating, whether there are controls available which can sense that this condenser is on. Now it requires a pumping of water, so this particular pump will be on, like that. Constant pump operation in a batch environment. Batch process is there and you are operating the pump for constantly the pump is on. That is a wrong system design. So you must have an on off control. Okay. So what is on off control? So on off control is nothing but, so at it will sense. Okay, it will say it is a flow control strategy. Okay, it is a flow control strategy in which, so it sometimes is also called as a start stop control. In this control method, what happens is the flow is controlled by switching pumps on and off. So in this case, it is necessary to have a storage capacity in the system, that is a wet well or elevated tank or an accumulator type pressure vessel. So what we can do is the pump is on, it runs and it stores the water. Okay, additional load on the power transfer. For example, if you have a time of day tariff, at the lower tariff, we can have the pump on, which can supply the water to a higher elevation. And when the tariff is high, at that time the pump can be off, and due to gravity, the flow can be flowed to the system. So this will reduce the power consumption. So this is called as an on-off control system. Then high maintenance cost. Seals and bearings are not checked. Pump operated far away from the best efficiency point, BEP. So you have to look at the characteristic curve, okay, which is supplied by the manufacturer. Find out the best efficiency point, match up the pump curve and the system curve, and try to operate the system at the best efficiency point. Okay, this is clear, right? So you see, efficient pumping system operation can be carried out by, there are so many methods: start stop control, flow control, VFD, so on and so forth. Then you have this pumps in parallel switch to meet the demand. Then we have so literature I will be sharing with you in the classroom. You can go through it. But in our case, for our syllabus, we are focusing on the effect of speed variation and effect of impeller trimming diameter. So impeller diameter change we will be considering, and also we will be considering the effect of speed variation for our syllabus. So you can expect a numerical based on this, which is the simple calculation of efficiency decrease, which is this one. So efficiency decrease for the pump and the effect of speed variation. So you see there is a relation of discharge to speed. Discharge is directly proportional to speed. Head is directly proportional to square of the speed, and power is proportional to cube of speed. Okay, so you see flow is proportional to speed. So if you have the q1 by q2 denoted by the second, this is the first discharge, the second discharge means the modified discharge. So what speed reduction should be there? So this is the relation in which we can get the discharge lesser by reducing the speed. Now how to reduce the speed? So wait, I'll take the pointer. Pointer is not available. Okay, so so just I will say you can write it down. Now we have the relation for n is given by 120 f upon p. So n is the RPM speed RPM, which is equal to 120 f. F is nothing but the frequency, and divided by p, small p, which is the poles on the motor, number of poles. So basically we have a 4-pole motor and 50 hertz frequency. So 120 f upon p will give you the RPM. Okay, so you see that the RPM is proportional to p and inversely proportional to number of poles. So if we fix number of poles, n is proportional to frequency. So variable frequency drive is the unit in which we can reduce the frequency, and thereby it reduces the speed. And when we reduce the speed, discharge is reduced. If we reduce the speed, head is reduced by square root, and power is reduced by cube root. Okay, so head is proportional to square of speed, so we can have the head. If I increase the speed, the head is also increased. In the other way around, if the speed is decreased, head will also decrease, like that. Power is proportional to the cube of speed, that way. Effect of impeller diameter change. So you have the discharge proportional to the diameter, head proportional to square of diameter, and power proportional to cube of diameter. Okay, so this way also we can do the same calculation by this way. We can have the diameter of the pipe in relation with the this Q, H and P. Now comes the important part, which is the suction pump suction performance. Okay, so here we will try to discuss about what do you actually mean by net the net positive suction head. So liquid entering the impeller eye turns and it is split into separate streams by the leading edges of the impeller vanes. An action which is locally developed drops the pressure below that in the inlet pipe of the pump. So if the incoming liquid is at a pressure with insufficient margin above its vapor pressure, then vapor cavities or bubbles appear along the impeller vanes just behind the inlet edges. Okay, this phenomena is known as cavitation. So cavitation is nothing but it is the bubbles or cavities which are formed due to the vapor pressure. Okay, insufficient margin above the vapor pressure. So every liquid has its vapor pressure. So when it moves in the impeller, okay, there is a pressure drop. And if this pressure drop increases and it is insufficient and it is above the vapor pressure of the liquid, then it will convert into a bubble or vapor. Okay, or cavity we can. This is called as cavitation. So cavitation has three undesirable effects. What are those? The collapse. When the cavitation is formed, that bubble will form and it will collapse. So the collapsing of this bubble will try to erode the vane surface. Okay, you see that when the bubble is there, that bubble is nothing but oxygen, and oxygen when it contacts, when it gets contact with the metal part, it oxidizes, it will corrode. Okay, so water based liquid, if we are pumping and the cavitation takes place, it is definitely going to affect the vane, and vane is the heart of the pump. So if the vane is getting corroded, definitely we will not be able to get the proper head. The second undesirable effect is nothing but noise and vibrations are increased with possible shortened seal and bearing life. So because of this wear and tear, the seal can be broken, the bearing life will be affected. Okay, because this cavity, because it is a gas or vapor, or we can say the bubble trapped inside, it will try to escape from this. It will exert a great amount of pressure on the bearings. Okay, and there will be a shortened seal life. Then third undesirable effect is the cavity area will initially partially choke the impeller passage and reduce the pump performance. In extreme cases, the total loss of the pump developed the head occurs. That means if the NPSH is not positive enough, then what will happen? The flow rate will not happen. So to avoid this, there are what we can say some solutions is there that we will also discuss. Okay, so fully developed flow is to be followed. So the value by which the pressure in the pump suction exceeds the liquid pressure vapor pressure is expressed as the head of liquid and is referred as net positive suction head available. Okay, so there should always be a positive pressure available in the pump. So the pressure in the pump suction exceeds the vapor pressure. Liquid vapor pressure is some amount, some value. Above that, we are maintaining the pressure of the pump, which is called as a net positive suction head available, NPSHA. This is the characteristic of the system design. Okay, the value of NPSH needed at the pump suction to prevent the pump from cavitating is called as net positive suction head required, which is NPSHR. So the pressure in the pump which is maintained above vapor pressure is called as net positive suction head available, and to avoid cavitation, which is the minimum suction head required, so it will be called as a NPSHR, net positive suction head required. So this is the characteristics of pump design. So NPSHA is a characteristic of system design, whereas NPSHR is a characteristic of pump design. This you understand. Okay. So when we discussed about these three undesirable effect of the cavitation, okay, generally there will be cavitation erosion before there is a noticeable loss of the pump head. Okay, so first that we observe is the first undesirable effect, that is the corrosion of the vane will take place, and after that there will be noticeable loss of the pump head. Okay, so onset of cavitation will happen at the NPSHR when there is a head drop of around 3% compared with head with cavitation free performance. Okay, at this point cavitation is present and prolonged operation at this point will usually lead to damage. So it is usually applied that we should therefore have a margin by which NPSHA should exceed NPSHR. So NPSHR is also called as a minimum value of net positive suction head to be maintained in the pump, whereas NPSHA is the maximum that should be there in order that flow should take place. Okay, so this is okay. So as we know that the discharge is proportional to N and head is proportional to N square. So in this relation also we get that NPSHR is proportional to square of speed. So it should be, you please write it down that even though at very low speeds there is a maximum NPSHR, plateau will be there. So NPSHR does not tend to zero at zero speed. It is there. It is essentially so. Therefore, essentially, it is carefully you should consider the NPSH in variable speed pumping. Okay, so that means in variable speed drive, if you reduce the speed and if you are going down by NPSHR, which is required for avoiding the cavitation, it may possible that due to the variable speed drive or variable speed pumping, you get below the NPSHR value and the cavitation will take place. So you should be careful enough to consider variable speed drive should not go the speed beyond the NPSH value. Okay, so this is clear. Now we will look at some energy conservation opportunities in pumps. So ensure that this is the first and foremost point, that you ensure educate NPSH at the site of installation. Very few people, industry people, are aware that you should require an NPSH. They are not aware of these terms. So you should be very careful with this. Ensure availability of basic instruments at the pump, like pressure gauges are installed at the pump location, pipe location, flow meters at various intervals should be there. Okay. Try to operate the pumps near the best efficiency point. Carry the handbook of that manufacturer. Carry that system curve, pump curve with you to find out the best efficiency point. And you check whether the pump is operating at best efficiency point or not. So modify the pumping system and pump losses to minimize the throttling. Adapt a wide load variation with variable speed drive or sequence control of multiple units. Stop running multiple pumps. Add an auto start or for an online spare, or add a booster pump in the problem area. Okay. So booster pumps are small pumps which increase the flow rate for some particular value, which doesn't make what we can say load on the motor. So if the pump is more loaded, motor will be more loaded. So if the motor is overloaded, it will consume more power. It will get heated. Then the no load loss will increase. The copper loss will increase, and so on. Okay, so overall efficiency may get affected. Okay, so so many points are there. We can have important points to discuss, like the avoid pumping head with a free fall return. Use siphon effect to advantage. Then you have to conduct water balance to minimize the water consumption. These are passive technology, passive things available with us. Avoid cooling water recirculation in DG set, air compressors, refrigeration system, cooling towers, feed water pumps, condenser pumps, and process pumps. Also, you should have in multiple pump operations, where wherever there are in multiple pump operations are there, carefully you combine the operations of pump to avoid throttling. So for example, you require higher head. So instead of going for two pumps, you can go for one, or means good capacity, higher capacity pump, which will fulfill the requirements of both the operations. Okay, replace in last case, when nothing is working, then you should replace old pumps by energy efficient pumps. And if you do the calculation and you see that the saving is more than going for energy efficient pump, then you should go for this option. Okay, right. So you reduce the system resistance by pressure drop assessment and pipe sizing optimization. There are there are instruments available. Flow rate sensors are there, flow rate meters are there, inbuilt meters are there, pressure gauges are there, manometers are there to measure the flow rate, pressure in the pipe. Also, there are ultrasonic sensors, ultrasonic measurement devices are available. If possible, we can conduct an online session, in which we will see how this ultrasonic testing machine can be used to calculate the flow rate in the pipe. So in place where the hazardous materials are there flowing through the pipe, it is dangerous to measure the flow rate directly by inserting the probe inside the pipe. So in this case, ultrasonic measurement devices are used. If time permits, I will be able to show you how ultrasonic testing of, or ultrasonic measurement of flow rate is carried out. We will have a demo session for that. Okay. So this is it for the pumps. In the next class, we will talk about induction motor and the motor system in brief. So, if you have any doubt, it will be streamed on your it is streamed on YouTube. So you can ask your doubts in the chat section. I will definitely answer your queries there, or you can personally message me. Okay, so we will stop this recording, and you please pose your questions in the chat section. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and go through this, and the chapter is being forwarded to you in the Google Classroom. Thank you very much. Have a great day.